Marhaba, and welcome to the Matrix Green Pill, where real people connect.
Hello and welcome back to the Matrix Green Pill podcast. My name is Hilmarie Hutchison and I'll be your host today. Our guest today is Soham Shah. He is the CEO and co-founder of Selfdrive.ae, the largest authorized car dealer subscription platform in the UAE. In 2010, when Soham and his co-founder conceived the concept of Selfdrive, they had no idea that an offline chauffeur-driven concept would turn into a disruptive digital platform. Soham, welcome and thank you so much for joining me today.
It's an honor to be here on the podcast with you today.
Always like to start off by having our guests introduce themselves and share their background. So can you tell us about yourself and how you ended up here in the UAE?
Sure. The story slightly becomes going back around 10 years before 2010. So that time I had completed my graduation in mechanical engineering. I was in India, back in Bombay. I finished my graduation from Pune University there. So I was working with Times of India that time. I was managing the circulation and market research for the company there. I was working there for 4 years. So it all started with a newspaper article in Times of India that said that the rental industry overall is very fragmented and there are no organized player in the industry, and it's expected to grow at around 40 to 45%. That's exactly where it hit in, stating that, okay, let's try something different. Let's try. So we started with one car. I remember the day I went down to my dad and said, hey, I want to start something like this. And he's like, okay, build up the whole business project and let me know. We'll assess it and we'll figure it out if it goes through. So we started with one car. We were chauffeur-driven in that era. I'm talking in 2005, we started those services there. It was completely offline, no heads and tails about tech or any understanding on those lines that time. We quickly moved on aggregating nearly about 400 cars between Pune and Bombay, these cities, because international airports in Bombay, helping the mom and pop stores get more business. And we were doing our bit on marketing and everything. Self-Drive really happened to us in 2010. It was because of one call that we received from one of our customers who was an expat lady working in Bombay. And she called up and said, I am looking in for a self-drive car. And she was an Australian lady whom we were serving to. And she's like, I don't want to have a driver with me in my car. We were like, okay. And she was working for a UK process in India. So she was supposed to travel at 2 a.m. in the morning. She's like, I need to have that freedom at my tips. I'm really not interested in having a chauffeur all throughout the night and trying to wait for me and all that. So that is exactly where we started thinking about it. We knew this concept of renting car or rent a car, they call it in some countries, or self-drive, they call it in some countries, that we knew they already exist. But the trigger point that basically started happening is, why can't we have, being such a big country, why can't we have this thing in the country? And we started researching. Again, we had no heads, no tails about how the industry would work, will it be adapted. It was a blueprint on a paper. We basically got a call. Okay, I want something. We had cars. We gave it to her. The first reservation was fantastically successful. No problem. She was a fantastic driver and everything was fine. It started with that. We matured that business model. We created a lot of stuff there. And then UAE happened to us surprising, where one of our own customers who was into the automotive dealership background was using our services in Bombay. And he come up and said, okay, are you guys really wanting to do something bigger than what you currently do in India? Or are you looking in for, you're happy with what you do? And that just got me going and said, okay, we are surely looking at expansion. We surely know India has a different breed of market, but it's very, very under-matured. It's nowhere close to what scale that we can do. And we had already built our tech. So the Indian version of Self-Drive was a very primitive version that we built, was in 2011 that we went live with Selfdrive.in. So me and my co-founder, who actually was a friend of mine who was in the tech guy, and he's a CTO also right now, we got along together on those lines. And we said, why don't we build something that we've already tried experimenting our hands on and build custom solutions for the region that the market wants? So the initial surprising point when I heard about we wanting to be in UAE was, why do you need us? My first question, and a surprising element, why do you need us? Because you have the big giants of multinational car rental companies out here. Something very surprising that he said was, we have dealers that are only going to be selling cars. We have a problem on our table that ownership is going down. People will no longer in a couple of years will be going in for cars and they may need mobility, but they may opt for a smarter option, which could be a subscription model, which could be something like a Netflix. Or that time Netflix didn't exist, but I'm just example on that line says you just take it, you try it, and if you like it, you continue it. If you don't like it, you have the flexible option to just cancel it out, and you have no liabilities on your head. We already were doing something like that called as micro lease that still exists in our product lineup. And that's a super successful model to us. I said fair, but then the dealership requires to have a different architecture ready with them to incorporate this kind of a business model. And then we got it going. We started discussing with the dealerships across UAE, and we figured out 90% of the infrastructure was practically ready, but they were not leveraging on it. What does it mean? That they had the cars, they had the stock. They were facing the problems of unsold inventory. They had the drivers, they had the cleaning, the washing bay, and they had the spare parts division to make. They also had a 24/7 assistance vehicle that was ready. But now they were actually not leveraging on the kind of assets they were depreciating just because they were unsold. And this could be a complete game changer by empowering dealerships that landed up becoming our suppliers and taking it forward from there. And then we built up the customer-facing model, and then the rest is history now. So we're one of the largest platforms in UAE that holds almost 15 car dealerships working with us across close to 65 counters across UAE. The good news is we just broke a mega milestone record of closing in 1 million days of reservation.
Oh, wow. That is absolutely fantastic. You're so passionate about your story and the background. It's fantastic. You certainly have had a very interesting and exciting rise and the growth of your business, which is fantastic, and well done on that. I want to just go right back to the beginning. You mentioned your dad. Can you tell us a little bit about him? I mean, why was he the person you went to ask for advice or input, or what is his background that he was able to guide you so well?
From a family background, he's been an entrepreneur for his life. So family business, I would say, has been off into diamond cutting tools and engineering goods, so basically into mining products. So I have, throughout my life, personally, have seen him working in factories, setting up factories. I have seen him working on machinery, and I've personally been an engineer, have worked with him in initial days of very teenagers. I've seen him going to the factory. I've visited with him and worked with him slightly, whatever I could do at my capacity. I've always idoled him as one of the successful person that I've always seen growing. I was very clear because I've seen him going through a lot in building an industry. So I was very clear that I don't want to go into production. I'll probably build something which is into service, but I'll not get into production. So that I kind of had it very clear in my mind. That made me not continue and join family business. On the other side, my mom, she has been running a FMCG business by herself, and she has her own factory and everything. So you can say the entrepreneurship DNA kind of already runs through it. And it was easy for me to communicate. It was always been on the table or the dining table discussing about work and what's new happening and how do we keep on innovating. And I have never seen a year passed by where we have not faced challenges, or a month passing by where we've not faced something going wrong or something keep going extremely in the way that we had decided. But what I really learned, and the go-to person for me was Dad, was specifically is because financing would come from him. Where would I otherwise raise capital to buy the first car? And I always wanted to keep him into the confidence that what am I doing? When he asked me, it was the first time he asked me to go and work in a company. Typically, it's super easy to join your own family business and say, hey, I know everything came in the ready-made plate. Everything was served to you on the table. When I said I probably was thinking of joining family business, he said, no, go and work. And he pushed me out to, after I did my education, he pushed me out to go and work with a company. And he was very clear, you need to work with either an MNC or work with a large organization for you to understand scale.
That was very smart on his part, for you to get some real world experience and not to be cushioned in daddy's business. So that was good thinking.
Totally. And I owe it off to him. And then the second thing what I owe it to is basically all the learnings that I personally did and personal growth that I got was from the first job that I stayed there for almost 4.5, 5 years. And I have seen that company grow midst and bounds. Understanding the scale, understanding managing people, understanding different departments, products, launches, all of this was a fantastic learning curve in the first job that I got itself. And then, as I mentioned, it was the article that changed in and then proposed it to him. And then he said, okay, let's give it a try. But it started with one car, that's for sure. And
started small. And tested the market first.
Yes.
So, I mean, you clearly see you come from a family of entrepreneurs. So that was in your head all the time that you were just looking for the right opportunity, the right fit to take your own idea.
I get this question asked, when was the day you decided to move into an entrepreneur ecosystem? Or it was never a day. I mean, that I will not be able to pinpoint a day because it never came in on a table as, it's such a big event. No, it's not an event.
It was a mindset for you.
It's something that I have seen it, and it's probably that, you can just do it. For me personally, after I started getting this question, I was kind of known in the industry and started getting this question in the ecosystem. I was like, really? Did I really even go back and think about such a big step? I would say it was not. I was never scared to say that whether I would be successful or whether I would be failing. But that was super clear because his investment was there. He is super clear. You need to get to the core of it. You make sure because we didn't belong from an automotive industry. None of us in the family. And we had no heads and tails again of automotive industry. He gave me that freedom. He was not the one who basically was trying to coach me or try to preach me or try to say, you're not doing the right thing or you're doing the wrong things. This is what it is. You have a monthly installment on the car to pay. Your business should generate minimum of that. Now it's your headache how you do it. So he left me on that freedom note that to fail, that's your take. You approved, I approved my initial payment of betting on you or giving that initial one-side support to you. But that initial investment was whatever he did, we surely mushroomed it into a bigger now massive company. So would not have been possible without his support, without mom's support, because she was there, because being an entrepreneur by her nature, and she's been running factories and companies and FMCG manufacturing stuff. So she knew certain things that she taught me. Dad knew certain things that he taught me. But then never that it came as that I'm doing wrong. I doubt even if they realized that I was going on a wrong direction where we would face different challenges and different heads up, road blockages and everything. But then I was open to communication even if I failed. I was open to communication on every bit that is happening in the company, discussions and brainstorming.
And that's the best way to learn, right? Is to try things.
Yeah.
Make mistakes, fail here and there. And that's the best way to learn and to grow. So no harm in that.
Absolutely. I mean, first doing something is because it's always mentioned, an entrepreneur's life could be very lonely walking down that path. But then it's great to have somebody to talk to. And what better than people who your family members are, who probably can understand you, what you're going through, and then probably give you an understanding or not give you a support. Irrelevant of that, at least talk it out. That's what I feel.
Absolutely. And they certainly have your best interest at heart. There's no doubt. So I love that you had that support from your mom and dad. That's absolutely brilliant. I want to just talk a little bit about the company Selfdrive. Now, for our listeners who've never tried it or don't know exactly what it is, can you sort of just break it down for us?
Selfdrive is a mobility solution company. We're a technology company now. What we do and what we offer as a product as a service is vehicles that can be easily taken on rentals, anything from 1 day, within a month's time. Subscription, you start with 30 days and going upwards to 12 months. And if you want to lease a vehicle, that could be a digital leasing experience, which is very new to the market in the region, is moving from 12 months, 24 months, 36 months. We do everything. All of this is built in an app or built on a web architecture where we have every element of the vehicle being documented and been pushed to the customer's information. The interesting part about it is that there's no single company managing this. It's 100% being managed directly by the dealers. So what adds value to the customer is if he knows that where is he getting his asset from? Is it well maintained? Is it going to be everything fine? Because UAE has high-speed roads and everything should be fine. It should not be getting two older vehicles. Is the pricing correct? So what we've done is we partnered with all the car brands that understand car subscription and leasing business. And we are empowering them as car dealers to get more business. He is getting nearly brand new vehicles. So a lot of the cars that you see on the app are brand new, or at times they're custom, even solution providers custom or the dealer to register a vehicle for you. That is kind of a solution which is very rare to find in this industry. What makes confidence from the customer to have that kind of a platform ready is they're stressed about what in case I go about and have a bad car, bad experience, or I'm stuck on the middle of the road, I don't know whom to call. If I meet with an accident, what happens? So all of these questions are being tried to answer on the app and through the service that we offer. So there's an addressable market, which was tourist population audition for UAE that was being served by Daily Weekly as a product for us. Then there is expat audience that we feel that who are in the country, who just got their jobs in UAE, who are looking into settling down. So the first major expenses that they do is look out for a home. And the second major expenses they have on their card is the mobility, which is the car. And it's the necessity in the country. So having said that, so that's exactly where we as a technology company felicitate and offer the best of the best cars in the market, the best suppliers that we have and who have the understanding of the know-how and take care of the customer end to end. So that's what we do.
How cost effective is it for the end user to use the system?
Very interesting question. We actually negate the middleman out. I'll tell you how does it work. That actually becomes nearly minimum 15% to 25% cheaper.
We want to know how that works. Tell me.
Yes. How that works is because what happens is a dealer sells a car to a rent-a-car company. Now that rent-a-car company has finance charges. They have OPEX charges. They have their own markups. And then they have to maintain all of their counters and human force and maintenance and everything. Then they have their substantial markups that they have to make sure to. Here, what happens that with Self-Drive, being a tech company, we don't own any of these counters. The counters are the dealerships directly. The dealership surely knows what the car is possible to get it at, because it's their inventory, it's their baby. They completely understand it, what price that comes at the landing cost is, how much they want to make. There are no middle people out trying to sneak in a pie out of it. There is no third party, which is the renter company itself. Now the dealer becomes a renter-car company itself. So that's where the change is. And that's where the costs are anywhere between 15% to 25% cheaper.
Right. So you don't have to have counters all over the place trying to sell your service, because you're selling it on the app and it goes directly to the car dealer.
Yes.
So if I wanted to pick up a car for one day, I go on the app, I find the car I want.
Yes.
And it will come to me, or I have to go to, it's sitting in Sharjah, or...
You have the option to walk to the counter if you feel that's the nearest option for you. Or if you just want this, we'll deliver it to you at your doorstep.
Okay, so that's really simple, really easy to do.
Yes.
Excellent.
And onboarding process with the customer also is done handheld in case you have any difficulties making a reservation or you have any questions on the vehicles or anything that you want specific to be taken care of. We have a dedicated team here in UAE itself that basically does it all. We make sure that you're compliant as per the RTA guidelines for you're eligible to drive the vehicle, making sure the documents are in place, and everything is curated on our table as an app. So it's just not a mobility app that just takes a reservation and processes it. We make sure that we are there with you across your journey. So we make sure that you're compliant, you make sure all the documents are in fine, there's no possibility of rejection of your reservation at any given stage. We also make sure that we are there across your journey till the end and make sure the car is returned back. You have no more requirement of the vehicle. Probably you're flying out and you have a vacation or something coming out you're moving out of. You have the option to even pause the subscription. So for example, you have taken a vehicle for 6 months or 12 months and you plan to go on a holiday for a month. You can pause your subscription, in which that 1 month will not be charged for you. The flexibility at its core is the uniqueness of the whole product and the app.
I know you mentioned in the beginning that you had no knowledge of the car industry when you started out. Are you a car enthusiast yourself?
Yes, I've been very crazy about. I'm a petrolhead by my nature, so I've been absolutely in love with the cars. A lot of them were aspirational because understanding the way where I come from, it's been a difficult times out there, and it's always been automotive industry has always been fascinating me. So I used to visit the expos, the auto expos of the world, and make sure that stay myself updated. That's what actually got me going into the automotive industry. That I want to do something in this industry there.
I know you also decided to primarily focus on SUVs and big cars. Why is that?
We have detailed, so we're not just a tech company, we're also a data science company, and we understand the amount of behavioral aspects of customers, and we make sure that we want to give them what they want. So we also make strategic changes on the things that are coming on the dealership. Also, not all cars are possibly to be easy to rent it out, or it's not a demand for that vehicles. So we specifically look at what people are driving more comfortable. Now, considering just an example to give you is people right now are highly fascinated about the compact SUVs and luxury SUVs. Sedans are slow and slightly going down on sales. This is moreover on the comfort side because we have the high speed roads, slightly more stable as a vehicle, more safer. So people started realizing then it's also the cost part of it that basically says, okay, I can have more luggage being stuffed in SUV than in sedan or a compact sedan or a very small sedan that you come in the economic category. This says, okay, fine. So our focus primarily goes and changes by large depending on what the market demands and the user behavior. So we understand the trends out here and then we emphasize size and we scale it up from there. That's what we do.
What tips would you give to other startup entrepreneurs in terms of setting up their own business in the UAE, especially with regards to rules and regulations?
I'll give you my example, what happened. So it was me and who walked into UAE and we had a dealer invite. So you can say that we had to do all of the work by ourselves. So that was not a red carpet there. So we only knew that, okay, we have a supplier who's kind of looking at this kind of a solution and I need to build the whole company from scratch. When I came into UAE, I was fairly trying to figure out how the country works, what the regulations are. We met a couple of consultants, had a word with them. We started approaching free zones and we started talking to them. As a country, I really felt this is one of the best possible countries to open and set up business because it's absolutely lean and clean. They have very clear with their rules and procedures and they're very clear about the steps that you need to have. Everything is online. A person or a consultant can really tell you that is something out of the box that the market or what's not there online as an information. So I was very fascinated with that. I was surely very kicked in because I've at day 10th of my stay in UAE, I really was closing on finalizing on where the company needs to be set up, how the regulation works. I had a kind of a very fair amount of idea that was giving the confidence that I'm not going into the wrong side or I may be overshooting. If I open a company, set up a company, I would be overshooting anything that would come and haunt us at the later stage. So that really gave us the confidence of being in the region and the decision of not going back and say, this is too complicated. I don't think we should be working here. On the other side, suggestion to upcoming entrepreneurs is you need to have a clean understanding on what activities that you want to perform under. And that's super important. You may have the flexibility of adding on ad hoc basis and depending on how the company grows, but having a clean understanding and you need to be in the market. So if you are e-com company, you better be on an e-com ecosystem. That surely helps because what my experience on this is the amount of free zones that are set up are a lot of them have their own expertise in certain level of industries they have a massive access to. These identifying stuff slightly is tricky, but then once you get to it, your decisions are super clean. And this really helps in a long way. So we were set up in Dubai Silicon Oasis, being a tech company, we wanted to be here. It has really helped us nurture us as a startup. They were very flexible in understanding our requirement. And it was easy to communicate and get hold of the government body and try and explain, okay, this is what I'm planning to do. This is where we stand today. We want to expand. We started very small in UAE. We didn't come with a bag full of millions of dollars to set up a complete company of a large scale. We started as a pilot project to say we'll do it, we'll see, and then we'll scale. So I kind of have an experience of going in from a one table space to a 50-seater office. And that also within just a timeline of 2.5 years.
So start off lean, don't stretch yourself and see how it grows. And then you expand from there. So first test the waters. That's some good advice.
Yeah, the market would give you feedback. The market would give you feedback to tell you're in the right direction or if you're not. Services that may require, I divide that into two clusters, basically a simple, people call minimum viable product understanding for any company. I divide that into two clusters. One, services and products that are already easily consumable, which become the necessity or are the necessity. You need to create. You need to move in and do something differently and just be aggressive and try to acquire that market because you don't have to wait for people to understand what you're doing. That's one cluster. Other cluster is where you require people to understand and get them educated. That is a different trajectory and that requires a different understanding and a mindset to run a company like that. They need to be super patient. You need to have a different kind of feedbacks and data metrics to say that, okay, I'm running on the right path or it's too early to the market as a product. These things market will tell you, but you need to be clear on it's a necessity or it's a future necessity that may turn out. Today it would be a luxury, but tomorrow it would be a necessity. For you to scale up, you need to have a product that are into an absolute necessity.
You've done so well. And as you say, already just 2.5 years in the UAE, you've grown it so much. What are some of your future goals? What's next for you or for Selfdrive?
We are rapidly expanding. For us, speed is the name of the game. We would aggressively be expanding across GCC and then moving into European markets. That's where current goals are. We're working towards it aggressively. For the company side, we remain to be flexible depending on what the market's needs are. We build products or the tech modules wherein we plug and play depending on what the market demands looks like. So if in certain segment of the market, probably subscription is probably too early, they could be wanting to go with digital leasing or only with retail, something like daily, weekly. We'll launch that first with them and then let the market mature enough to be more stable and then scale it up from there. We keep on innovating on the products. We're getting into e-scooters. We're getting into mobility solutions as well. So we keep on innovating the products. We also get services launched depending on the market demand. Because now we at scale, we also kind of diversify into aggregating some other services, like probably you need washing services with the cars. You're already having a car, now you need to have, why don't you kind of get a subscription on a washing service, basically? Or you want to have a intercleaning once a month or once in a quarter, whatever your requirement is. We add up these kind of services and we keep on scaling up on those because now we have the clientele base, people who are consuming our services, using it every day. We are a part of everyday's people's lives now. Now you add on anything on those lines, will always be on a scale.
Now we've come to the segment of our show. I will ask you a few rapid fire questions, our version of a game show. Are you ready?
Okay.
So just the first thing that pops into your head, what is your favorite car brand?
BMW.
Do you prefer to listen to the radio or do you have your own music playlist?
I have my own playlist.
And what is one thing you do every day, no matter how busy you are?
Spend time with family.
Very important.
every day, no matter which part of the world I am, I give dedicated time to parents and wife and kid. And there is a rule book that I need to talk to everyone when I start my day. I need to find out if everything is fine, everything is good with them, how do their day looks like, how do my day looks like, and whether it's a conference call, cutting it time out, but it's an inevitable part of the day.
Fantastic. Now, before we wrap up, we would like to do our green pill moment. So for this segment, I'd like to ask you, could you please share an inspiring or life-changing experience that you have gone through, your green pill moment?
A life-changing experience was here in UAE itself when we went thrown to an uncharted territory of a challenge. It was superbly focused on one particular brand, and that brand decided to pull out, wherein everything was at the nerve of collapsing because we grew super hard, super high within a very short period of time. And that kind of got them a bit scared, stating that if this company so new in the region, how would, in case they fail, what happens? These guys have got more than 500 cars on road within a span of hardly 3 or 4 months. That is the moment where I really felt that what does it take to be super aggressive, change the whole company's internal mechanics. And so for me, it was one of the biggest challenge that I have. It was the event of a life wherein you came in, you did a lot of work, you got settled in, and you were just trying to be at that level where you can say, I've got a taste of the success. And then literally everything came crashing down. And then you pick yourself out from there and then you rebuild everything brick by brick, block by block. And then you say, so experience is have every control on, try controlling every bits of things. But if that goes out of control, have patience and keep walking.
Wow, what a scary experience though.
Absolute scary. I mean, nerve-wracking. I can tell you that I was counting on days and I was counting on what next? How do I serve the customers that are there? And they're like, no, we can't extend anymore because there are certain events happens in UAE that a lot of companies may want to or gave me a feeling of a flyby company, which we were not. But then trying to give them that confidence that we are not a flyby company and we are serious about what we are doing really required a lot of nerve to hold and then keep on growing and proving them wrong that, hey, listen, we are here. And super proud that we've come in successfully and we really, really have amazing people who have showed a lot of love to the brand and amazing car brands that are working with us and they've seen the success story with us. And life-changing event, yes, that was one.
A lot of learning going on there.
But never thought that I would have to pack my bags and leave.
It never came to that point.
No. Packing the bags and leaving was never a solution that crossed my mind. It was like, how am I going to make this situation better? And we are stepping into one of the worst situations every day because we are running dry on the platform. What is a platform without you have anything. But it was very initial stages and we ourselves never realized. I practically didn't even have much of team to support. When initial days, I was for the month or two when I was attending customers' phone calls and making reservations for them.
Let me just go back. I know we've sort of come to the end of the podcast, but it just dawned on me, cars need to be on the road, need to be driven. What was happening with you during COVID when people were not driving cars and they was working from home? Did that impact you a lot?
I would take 2 minutes of your time on that. It's a very interesting topic that you picked up. During COVID, I remember these dates. 24th, we went into a partial lockdown, and 4th of April, we went to a 100% lockdown. We were close to around 3-digit cars on roads, and we were extremely beautifully cruising, entering into the 4-digit number. Close to 1,000 customers, I would say, on road driving those cars. And we started getting full of phone calls about, we would like to return the car. And everybody, including the dealers, nobody knew what exactly is going to happen. If we all recollect ourselves into every one person's life, everyone was clueless. We just weren't figuring it out what's happening around the world, and we're trying to figure out what's going to happen in the region that we are in. I very well remember wherein we were backed up by a fantastic team that we work with in the company. And I had a meeting and we said, okay, we're going to work from home. Because 4th, it's going to go on complete lockdown. And we were pounded with phone calls of cars to return back. The one thing I was continuously doing is I didn't hit a panic button immediately. I wanted to be patient enough to see what exactly is going to happen through. So I knew customers wanted to return the vehicles, but then I was continuously in calls with everybody in the automotive line that I know and trying to understand what decisions are they taking as top level managements and big organizations. So a couple of them came back and said, we are not going to be picking up the cars. It's 100% lockdown. Even if the customer wants to return the vehicle, we're not going to pick it up. Some of them said, assets on the road at that scale is not possible. It's too risky. We're going to pick up the car. We're going to get some approvals and we're going to pick up the cars. We did a maths that in case we decide to lose all of these customers, what would it cost us to regain them? And in case we ask the customer that because of the lockdown, you can't drive it, just keep the car, we won't charge you. How much would it cost? We did that maths. On 4th, we went to lockdown. 6th, we had an answer in front of us and we called up we worked out the mechanics with the clients that just give us the odometer reading and the location of the vehicle and make sure the cars are parked safely. In case this lockdown opens up, you are free to open the agreements again. We'll start charging you. Till the time, we'll not charge you. 2 interesting things happened. We took a massive big risk on this part that we will not lose the customers that are there with us because they're valuable. And it was easy for the customers to just move out and say that, hey, it does not make any sense. You're fine if you're going to leave the car in my parking garage. I have no problem. But what they didn't realize and what we knew about it is if the lockdown does not stay for long, which actually happened. I mean, government was kind enough to take that move swiftly and making sure that everything comes back to normal ASAP. So within the 30th day, we got a news that we're going to be partially reopening up. And 85% of those agreements got retriggered. Imagine what the market did was they collected all the cars. We were the one who decided not to collect the cars. Overall impact of the COVID was only 6%. That 2 days that we took the delay of decision making was the only impact we had that we went negative. The interesting part, what happened is it triggered 2 architectures for us. One, we found customers thanking us. People who lost their jobs, who still wanted to return, yes, we still gave them 15 days because we knew our calibration that we were still sustainable. At least even if we take this cost and put it in place and do everything, we still had something that we could run for at least 45 to 60 days. I said, worst case scenario, everybody would go zero. If all the cars come back, there will be no income, no revenue, nothing happening. The best case scenario is we at least keep these cars on road and have these agreements reopened because we had the subscription pause option there. So we triggered in that pause option for everybody who wants to opt in for it, except the emergency services in the medical field that we were servicing and the doctors that we were servicing, they were anyways operational. So that was not a problem. So that whatever the percentage of revenue that kept on coming into the company. But then I would say nearly close to 95% of that business was under lockdown. What really happened was customers later on came and started thanking us that, okay, it was fair on the part of the company not to charge us when we were not using it. And that generated automatic brand loyalty. Now it is like irrelevant whether we are cheap, whether we are not cheap, or we say expensive or whatever happens. All of that brand all of that audience and customers are like, you have got us. Till the time we are in the country, you have got us.
You've proven yourself to them.
Absolutely. Secondly, what we did was on the employee front. We did not fire or we did not ask a single employee to leave the company. We did not give them any haircuts. We will not be offering them not a single dirham less from what their pays are. By the way, we founders took a haircut to make it sustainable.
Of course you have to, yes. I think all entrepreneurs, all owners
yes, so
had to take...
we all of us took a haircut for almost a good amount of time last year. And we wanted to accommodate. But that also triggered because every employee could see jobs losing out. Their friends were losing out jobs. Their friends were getting reduced pays and they were unable to sustain. It was making their life difficult. Whereas we were the company that was trying to support them aggressively, making them more comfortable. We're trying to make is everything fine, even if you're working from home for that whole month. And the whole team came in together. The way it came in together was to fight out this odd situation that nobody had any idea about. We had no idea because we were still getting calls every day about either to return the vehicle. And every day, on daily basis, we were migrating them to the pause option. On daily basis, we were doing what best we could do and manage the situation in the right way. The right or wrong, nobody knew it, but surely it turned in our favor in a big time.
Wow. So by putting your customers first, you win in the long run.
Absolutely.
So that's some good advice.
Totally.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing your inspiring and compelling story with us today, especially your COVID story. That was some scary days also. I'm sure our audience will thoroughly enjoy this conversation as much as I have. And I'm sure the young entrepreneurs listening to this will also benefit from the advice that you've shared. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was an honor and a pleasure having a fun time with you here on the podcast today.
Yes, thank you so much. But before we say goodbye, I would like you to please share and tell our listeners where they can find and follow you. And we'll also share this in the show notes.
Anyone who wants to have any kind of connections with me directly, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm more accessible on LinkedIn. For anyone who likes to do the services, you're there on Selfdrive.ae. Just download the app. And you have any questions for us, feel free to reach out to me. We'll be glad to help you at any given junction. At best, what I can do.
Thank you very much. And thank you again for joining us today. It was excellent, a lovely conversation. I learned a lot of things about the car industry and self-drive I didn't know myself. So that was very enlightening. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much for having me. It was amazing. And you usually took me back into my memory lane.
It's always lovely to hear to think back to where things started, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Totally.
Some tough memories, but also some good ones.
It surely brings a nice smile on your face that, okay, what you've gone through yourself and then where you've reached. It's a beautiful, a kind of nostalgic moment for us.
Yes, it's certainly put a smile on my face. So thank you for that. And I wish you all the very best. It was lovely to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
If you enjoy our conversations, please like and subscribe. See you next Wednesday.